One day after John McCain scolded Barack Obama in the debate Friday for the naivete of his foreign policy, McCain's running mate Sarah Palin came out in favor of Obama's foreign policy. Just one reason our third story should come as no surprise: a clear lead for Obama, gelling in two national polls. Hotline putting Obama up by 47-42. It's a daily tracking poll. Gallup shows a widening spread. Obama with 50 to McCain's 42. The in-trade gambling site spread has gone from 51-48 Obama over McCain last week to Obama 63-37 tonight. Most of the polling came before today's failure of the bailout deal McCain had already taken credit for, before word came of Palin's foreign policy defection. On Friday, McCain had scolded Obama at the debate for saying he would take action against al-Qaeda, now holed up in the Waziristan region of Pakistan, if Pakistan was unable or unwilling to do so. On Saturday, Palin got the same question. On Sunday, McCain implied that Palin's answer did not count because she was only talking to a voter. Tonight, he and Palin together amplified that rationale for Katie Couric of the CBS Evening News.
Look, I understand this day and age gotcha journalism. Was that a pizza place? In a conversation with someone who you didn't hear the question very well, you don't know the context of the conversation, grab a phrase. Governor Palin and I agree that you don't announce that you're going to attack another country.
Are you sorry you said it, Governor?
Wait a minute. Before you say, is she sorry she said it? This was a gotcha soundbite that, well, she was
It wasn't a gotcha. She was talking to a voter.
She was in a conversation with a group of people and talking back and forth. And I'll let Governor Palin speak for herself.
In fact, you're absolutely right on. In the context, this was a voter, a constituent, hollering out a question from across an area, asking, what are you going to do about Pakistan? You better have an answer to Pakistan. I said, we're going to do what we have to do to protect the United States.
Governor Palin, of course, knew she had taken the media with her on the photo op, and in fact, she had already given the same answer, saying that even Pakistan disapproved, all options were on the table. This during her sit-down interview with Charlie Gibson, during which he did not holler any of his questions from across an area. And in fact, the Bush administration is known to have been following Obama's policy for months, specifically at least since January 29th, when after several attempts failed to win Pakistan's cooperation, a CIA drone in Pakistan did exactly what Obama and the Pentagon had argued that the U.S. should do. It fired two Hellfire missiles, killing Abu Laith al-Libi, the al-Qaeda director of a deadly 2007 attack on a U.S. base in Afghanistan. Let's turn now to Chris Hayes, Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Chris, good evening.
Hey, Keith.
7 years after 9/11, no bin Laden, al-Qaeda's as strong as ever. Republican candidate gets the history of Pakistan wrong and the president's name wrong on Friday. Says the Democrat is too tough on terror and now disowns his own running mate when she happens to agree with that candidate and also the current administration. The question, I guess, in sum is, why is John McCain so soft on terror?
Well, I can't answer that question. I mean, this whole Pakistan debate has always been bizarre from the very beginning. I mean, you go back to the speech in which Obama originally proposed a kind of cross-border policy, and it was clear that he was doing that both because he believed in that substantively, but also as a bit of political opportunism to stress his sort of hawkish bona fides. And then out of nowhere, McCain, who obviously, manifestly would agree with that policy, saw an opportunity for a very discreet, short-term political cheap shot to go after Obama, and now, you know, months and months and months and months later, it's kind of cemented into some principled policy when it's obviously not what he actually believes.
Obama and Kerry said it years ago. The American people and Defense Secretary Gates agree with them. Even Mr. Bush seems to get it. That border, Afghanistan and Pakistan, is priority number one, region number one. It's the area you want to shout across when it comes to terror. How does Governor Palin triangulate between that position and McCain's when this subject almost inevitably comes up in the debate Thursday?
That's going to be a tough one, and I feel sorry for Governor Palin in the sense that this so-called gaffe is really not of her own making. I mean, the reason it's a gaffe is because the McCain campaign has a policy that doesn't make a lot of sense, particularly coming out of their own worldview. It's only a gaffe because they've taken this highly idiosyncratic position on this one particular discrete issue. And Sarah Palin, who, as we know, is not the world's greatest foreign policy expert, was probably reasoning out of a core set of basic principles that would lead her to believe that this was the right way to go.
The word is that the governor is heading for the Sedona Ranch of Senator McCain tonight, reportedly so the campaign can undo the preps that it claims now gave us her Gibson and Couric interviews with a goal of making her more or letting her be more herself. Number one, what could that mean? Number two, what possible strategy could they try now for this debate? And number three, could that old Bush have a beer with him approach really get her through a debate when she apparently, according to a story that was in the Washington Post today, could not, in that CBS interview, an unaired portion, could not come up with the name of another Supreme Court decision besides Roe v. Wade?
Well, I don't know what they're going to do about this debate, frankly. I mean, there is videotape on the internet that shows her debate in the Alaska gubernatorial race in which she acquitted herself quite well. And as we know, she is sharp, she is charming. But, when you think about what Sarah Palin's life must be like right now, I mean, presumably there's a briefing book of 600 pages, and, she's cramming for this kind of exam on Thursday that no human being, no matter how smart, no matter how capacious in memory and wit, would ever really be able to pull off in the short amount of time she has. So all she can do is fall back on these obviously rote, canned responses, and people see through that.
Well, that leads to this question. What do you think, how long are the odds that this debate does not happen as scheduled on Thursday? I mean, some of the right have demanded that she should withdraw from the ticket, and for McCain's sake, either that way or, a convenient or bona fide crisis that postpones this thing. I know, obviously, that must have been part of the whole game plan last week in the hope of postponing the first presidential debate.
Right. Well, the most creative solution I've seen proposed is to send Sarah Palin to Washington to hammer out the bailout deal. But I don't think the press or the voters will go for that. I mean, yeah, there's certainly a chance it won't happen. A lot of it depends on what the heck happens in Washington these next few days and with the news cycle, which has been totally and completely unpredictable for a good week and a half now. So we'll see.
Got to be 10-1, something like that. Chris Hayes, Washington editor of The Nation. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Keith.